In my book, Disconnect: The Truth About Cell Phone Radiation, I explain why most of you don't know more about this problem. It's not an accident. The cell phone industry has war-gamed the science. I document this in a book that was written a decade ago. I've shown you today that government limits don't take into account the fact that there's a damaging effect on memory, there's damaging effect on sperm, there's damaging effect on pregnancy that I haven't been able to show you here that you can find on our website. War games is what's involved, and here's an example of some of them. Telstra annual report shows families using devices, having children hold the devices on their bodies in exactly the ways that we've shown are unsafe. And these devices are not tested for children. They're tested with a 220-pound guy, and none of them tells you that they're not really safe for children close to their bodies, although many governments are now issuing warnings about that, including the government of France and Belgium and Israel, which point out that these devices should never be kept close to the bodies of children. And yet we have the marketing of the devices with no awareness of the need to protect children. As you see here in the games, the kids are being encouraged to play. You see the phone directly on the body of dad with his beard, and it's going right into his thigh. And on our website, we have a video from a brave woman who's sharing her story of what has happened because she kept her device on her thigh and she developed a rare malignancy as a consequence of it. This is the marketing that's going on. For Christmas, after all, that is a young toddler with a virtual reality headset on their brain, putting that radiation right into their thinner skulls and rapidly growing brain cells. This is contrary to what the American Academy of Pediatrics advises. These are some of the fine print warnings that come with these devices that most people never see. They're in the device. They're in the operating system. That's where we took this information from. It says the device should be used more than 20 centimeters from the body when wireless devices are on. Otherwise, you can exceed the exposure guidelines. These are some further examples of the dark side of marketing. They're promoting the use by young children, by people of reproductive age, keeping Wi-Fi radiation close to the reproductive organs. I don't know why anyone would want to go to the beach to check out their devices. This cute bunny is obviously a children's toy. It's obviously designed for kids. Kids put things in their mouths, but this bunny has a little secret. It is a wireless speaker. Why would you want to have a baby snuggling with a wireless device? It makes no sense. It violates all the recommendations of the manufacturers, and yet there's no control over the marketing of wireless radiation exposures to children. I find it horrifying, and I hope you do too. Now in Belgium, it's against the law to sell phones like these designed for children. It is illegal to do this for children under the age of 7, but I think that it should not be permitted to encourage children to use cell phones except for emergencies. And I think they need to know how to do that, but they should not have their own phones and certainly should not be carrying it close to their bodies. Another explanation for the problem, besides the war games, is the fact that if you look at the FCC and you look in Italy right now to those who are in charge of regulating the telecom industry, they come from the industry they are regulating. It is a revolving door. That is why a Harvard University report called the Federal Communications Commission a captured agency with the hardball tactics of big tobacco. As most of you know, it's no longer legal to advertise tobacco in the ways that I showed you at the beginning of my talk. It's illegal in many countries, including Turkey, where tobacco originated. And in the 1990s, the executives of the largest tobacco companies swore to the US Congress that they did not have evidence of the dangers of tobacco at the time. And they were convicted of racketeering by a federal court for having made that false testimony, for having supported research that would make tobacco appear to be safe, and for having a massive marketing campaign targeting minorities, targeting women, and targeting children to promote the use of this dangerous product. Today, we have a similar situation where the industry claims there's no evidence of harm, but they're concerned about the problem. That is actually taking a ticket from the playbook of the tobacco industry now by the telecom industry. They're following the same playbook as tobacco, and you can see that here in this video.
So be straight with me. Is it true?
It could be. No,
well, very
no
few cases.
Proof
There
at
was
all.
an unfortunate
It's really a
incident out in Iowa. Look, gentlemen, practice these words in front of the mirror. Although we are constantly exploring the subject, currently there is no direct evidence that links cell phone usage to brain cancer.
And that has been the exact model for the cell phone industry. They say we need more research, and yet there's no research funded. They say we have no evidence because they make efforts to make sure we have no evidence. In Britain, this ad about 5G, warning about its dangers, was banned. Here's another one that was banned. We at Environmental Health Trust have worked with Radiation Research Trust. They've developed a lot of these ads, brilliant work. And yet what happened when they put these up in the loo, in the public toilets, these ads, they were told they had to pull. Here's another one. How safe is your phone? And it quotes the work of the US government National Toxicology Program. It shows in the apps all of the different things that have been documented. It's a very high quality, excellent ad. And if you want to show it or share it, please do so, but know that this has been banned in Britain. Environmental Health Trust has been working with parents and teachers and citizen groups around the world to promote safer technology for children. They're very simple things you can do. Make sure that children only use wireless devices when they're disconnected from the internet, disconnected from Bluetooth and Wi-Fi off. Make sure that children know that a cell phone is not a toy, and do not give wireless devices to children to play with so long as they're connected to anything emitting radiation. We are working with schools in England and around the world that are promoting wired technology for educational purposes. We recognize children need to learn how to use the digital world, but we want them to do it in a more safe manner. We want them to know that when there are only 1 or 2 bars on a device, you should never use it unless it's an emergency, because the device will issue even more radiation in an effort to reach the signal. We want them to know that these devices should never be carried on the body, because the closer a device is to the body, the more radiation will get into the body. And we know definitely that children's brains are growing so rapidly that they need protection from seatbelts, airbags, bike helmets, all of these things we protect our children with. We have to also protect them from microwave radiation from these devices. Tablets are called tablets because they belong on tables. They do not belong on our bodies or the bodies of children. Yeah. If you want to watch a movie or some other thing on your device, with a child, for yourself, make sure you download it first, disconnect from Wi-Fi, disconnect from Bluetooth, and then watch whatever you're trying to see. That way you will reduce your wireless radiation exposure, and also you'll save bandwidth in your home. One of the problems people have increasingly is that they can't get on, or the device is working slowly. It's working slowly because there are too many things already connected to your wireless system. The best system to have is not wireless, but wired. That involves cabling that is very simple to install with a direct wire net cable into your router. If you cannot easily do that, then please download what you want and then disconnect from the internet, from Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so that you can safely watch whatever you're trying to see. And I look forward to working with you as we develop more powerful ways to show people what we know now and what we need to do to ensure that our children grow up in a healthier and safer future. Thank you.
Did you know that cell phone, the one in your pocket, emits radio frequency radiation? As long as your phone's turned on, even if you're not talking or texting.
The American Academy of Pediatrics in over a dozen countries recommends reducing children's exposure to wireless radiation.
When using a cell phone, I always keep it away from my body. I use speakerphone or a headset like this.
To stop microwave exposure, I put my phone on airplane mode and turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth function.
I hold the phone at a distance and make sure it's not touching my body.
Cell phones are not toys. Children's brains and bodies are still developing and are vulnerable to wireless radiation. Practice safe and responsible habits with yourself and your children.
When using the computer, I always try to make sure my connection is corded, not wireless.
Remember not to use your cell phone in the car. The phone works at higher power in metal surroundings and bounces around, increasing your family's radiation exposure.
For their safety.
For your safety.
Because children are more vulnerable.
Remind them.
Remind yourself
To limit your microwave radiation exposures. Probably the most important thing I did, I was involved as a young scientist in the committee that actually reviewed the data and recommended that there be no smoking on airplanes. You may be shocked to hear that it was even a question for science at the time, but it was. And when I look at what we know now about mobile phone radiation, I see some very interesting similarities.
A growing number of prominent doctors and scientists are raising warning flags over radiation this morning, and your kids could be facing a greater risk of exposure.
I think the most important study is a study by the National Toxicology Program in a classic large carcinogenicity test, one of the largest ever performed, and for that matter, one of the most expensive. They found increased risk of the tumors which we believe radiofrequency radiation is causing in man. Particular tumors called schwannomas. In the rats, they were in the heart. In humans, they're often in the nerve, the ear nerve, the vestibular nerve.
Cell phone providers say they follow all safety guidelines put into place by the FCC. The current FCC safety standard was developed nearly 20 years ago.
The manufacturers actually tell people in the instruction manual, which I never read, not to put the cell phone against your ear.
It does say exactly that. There's the BlackBerry, for example, warns to keep your phone at least 0.98 inches away from the body when transmitting. With an iPhone, for example, it's 5/8 of an inch.
At this point, the evidence has become sufficiently strong that cell phone radiation is a human carcinogen.
A major development from California's Department of Public Health. High use of cell phones may be linked to certain types of cancer and other health effects, including brain cancer and tumors, lower sperm counts, headaches, and effects on learning, memory, hearing, behavior, and sleep.
If it was a real problem, I would know. If it was a real problem, the government would protect us. How come I'm not hearing about this? They're all things I've heard when I give seminars. You know, I get up there and they say, oh yeah, if this was really a problem, they would have told us. I am they. I am a, legitimate scientist, and I am telling you.